Good morning, my friends. Thank you so much for being here. It's a Wednesday morning, and so we're going to dip into a little bit of truth here. December 9th, 2020. The inquiry this week is about trust and how do we know when we can trust that we're on the right path or when we're making a move that's in alignment with our values. And as you all know, at least everyone who's present live, but maybe some of you don't who are watching the video, but I've been on a journey trying to feel my way into what is the right home for me in the next chapter of my life. That's Bones, my brother's rooster next door. You'll hear Bones and his other bantam rooster sometimes crows as well. But that was definitely Bones. Um, how do I know when I'm in the right place? How do I know what the right choice is? And whether we're making a very small decision that affects us for a few minutes or a large decision that has ramifications, um, much bigger ramifications, this is something that a lot of people wonder about and ask themselves, how do I know what the right choice is? And it's something that we talk about a lot because the meditation practice and the enlightenment journey is one that deals with human suffering. It's one that deals with the great obstacle of our great gift of the human mind. It's something that comes up again and again. The mind can take us in all sorts of directions. The mind gets attached to stories over reality often. And so a lot of my personal technique that I've been coaching and using myself has to do simply with coming back into the truth of the body and listening for the body, the physical sensations, but also the emotions that tend to be housed and experienced via the body. Through my work with studying with shamans and doing some shamanic training and seeing other people on that path, I've learned that there are lots of different ways of hearing the truths inside the body and inside the heart. Some people have visions, images that come to them. Some people have kind of auditory experiences or verbal information. Some people get a lot of information through all sorts of things, through smell, right? Through um, really any sensory channel can be a powerful one depending on the individual for just information, right? But today, what I want to talk about is really what I've learned more recently about this very nuanced and very personal process of listening to truth. Um, it's not something that I can, someone could teach you in a course or a workshop exactly. It is something that has to be discovered inside. And here, as I'm pushing toward 39 years on this planet, I'll be 39 in March. I feel like this year I've learned a lot about how I can trust I'm on the path or not. And so I'm just going to share a little bit about that with you. I've been very humbled as I've been on this journey. And I realized that one of the things that kind of fooled me in the past is that when I'm on the right path or serving my purpose, that there will be these positive feelings associated with it. And there is a truth to that, for sure. But what I realize is that, so as I'm doing this transition, this move, as I'm doing this exploration of where I'm going to live next, I'm of course reflecting on all the moves I've done in my life, and I've done a lot of them. I did a lot when I was a kid with my parents, and Then I moved around a lot in the last few years. And what I realized is that the move from Brooklyn to upstate, some of you remember when I did that back in 2016, and other transitions, I found the energy going into them was often positive. It was very positive, but almost kind of manic. It was there was a sense that everything's going to be perfect once I get there. And everything's really stressful right now. There's a lot of negative emotions, a lot of anxiety, a lot of stress, a lot of exhaustion, a lot of overwhelm in the move, but with a narrative that once I just get this over with, then I'll be in heaven. Then I'll be in paradise. And then all my problems will go away. And I see this now as a blind optimism and as a storytelling. And we have revisited this passage in the Yoga Sutras a lot of times, but Patanjali, when he tells us about the kleshas, or the causes of suffering, he says, all suffering comes from avidya, from the first klesha, avidya. Vidya means wisdom, and you put it in front of it, it means non-wisdom. And he tells us what that is, and it's basically a storytelling. Kyatihi. He says avidya is a kyatihi. Kyatihi is an identification, a story, a point of view, it's sometimes said. And I'll tell you he tells us what that point of view is in a second, and I'll go into it, but that's interesting. This is something that comes up again and again, that our suffering is caused when we stand in an identity, and then we're looking through our eyes from that place, thinking this is the perspective, this is reality. Not realizing it's only because we took this stance that this is our perspective in the moment. It's not an objective perspective, right? So that identification, the I am this, right? My identification of being a nature person, that was a big part of it for me when I moved out of the city. Everything's going to be great because I just need to get off I was living next to the BQE. Just get me out of here and I'm going to be fine. But in fact, all these other issues arose once I moved away from my community in New York, my work in New York. And that's all fine. But what I didn't realize was the mixed nature of all of it. But I was standing in this identity. I'm nature girl. This is who I want to be. So how I want to see myself. And so this has to work. We were growing our own food, and I started to have the worst health problems I've ever had. And I said, this can't be right. Right. But it's because I was blinding myself to the bigger picture and to the challenges of where I was. It wasn't necessarily the wrong path, but I made it the wrong path by forcing a story. Okay, so here's what he says. Avidya is the wrong identification. It's the perspective, the kyatihi, the perspective that what is ephemeral is eternal. That what is mixed, a mixed experience, is a pure experience. That what is painful is pleasurable. The non-self is the self, right? So that identity, I'm perfect nature girl and I grow my own food and I'm going to be the healthiest person in the world. Or that was my identity, right? I took that to be myself, my true self. And that was the fourth mistake that is all wrapped up in avidya, or the 4 ways that we can experience and make this mistake of avidya. So I've been reflecting on that on this journey. How can I make sure not to, well, one thing I'm doing is saying, I'm just looking at 2021. I'm not going to say I'm going to move. It's not eternal wherever I go. And that takes a load of pressure off, right? And helps me be really present and make a decision that's right for right now, right? I'm being really honest about what doesn't feel right in any space. It's a mixed experience. It's not pure, right? What I was trying to do before was sort of make certain things in my life perfect and not acknowledging the issues so that I could actually deal with them and make a choice that has integrity, right? I'm not ignoring what's painful, right? That all goes together. I'm not pretending that what's painful feels good. And finally, I'm trying to be really honest that myself also can't be put in a little box. And so to take a step that feels like it's really in alignment now, feels different than it used to. I used to think if I'm in alignment, I'm going to get all these kind of rewards. If I'm doing the right work, some great thing's going to walk down the street and give me, I don't know, give me this great opportunity. That's the sign. Not necessarily. And so what I'm learning is that what I do find is a sense, what I find is present, is a sense of trust. A sense of trust that I am doing what I need to do, that I am where I need to be. A sense of integrity, right? A sense of wholeness. But it doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to be easy or fun. So I'm trying to fix the weird lighting on my face. It doesn't mean that it's going to be easy or fun in the moment all the time. I can be in a really tough spot, but still find that sense of trust that I'm doing the right thing. Since I have been here in Fort Worth, where I was born and where a lot of my family lives, some tough stuff has come up. There's been a couple of tough things that have happened in our family as a whole that they weren't they weren't celebrations, but I was really glad that I was here. I had this sense that, oh my gosh, I'm in the right place right now. I can support my dear family through a challenge. And though it didn't feel pleasurable necessarily, it felt right. It felt aligned. I slept very well after supporting that day, you know? And so I'm learning how to find this deeper sense of trust and to stop looking for that moment when I finally cross the finish line and I finish the move and I've got myself into the perfect place and I just get to kick back and I feel no anxiety for the rest of my life. I don't know, right? All of these stories I have told myself, I'm letting them go and allowing myself to be where I need to be and to serve where I need to serve and to be held and served. I wanted to share with you guys this morning a little bit from my dear Nisargadatta. And sorry, give me one sec. There's so much I always want to share with you guys, and I have to always trim it down. Okay. So this is a little bit about how the actual technique, how we can be with the mixedness of life, how we can be with the challenging moments. And how we can let go of that identity and that story that everything is going to be perfect. He says, you began as a child and you will end as a child. Whatever you have acquired in the meantime, you must lose and start at the beginning. His student says, but the child kicks. When it is unhappy or denied anything, it kicks. And Maharaj says, let it kick. Just look at the kicking. If you are angry or in pain, separate yourself from anger and pain and watch them. Externalization is the first step to liberation. Step away and look. The physical events will go on happening, but by themselves they have no importance. It is the mind alone that matters. Later he says, if you deal with society, you must accept its ways, for its ways are your ways. Your needs and demands have created them. Your desires are so complex and contradictory. No wonder the society you create is also complex and contradictory. And so in many ways, I feel like I have returned. This move feels oddly more like the moves when I was a child. I love that line of, you began as a child, you will end as a child. Everything that you're trying to accomplish here, you're going to have to let it go and start over anyway. I have lost a lot of what I was building, you know, for a long time, and have had a lot of resentment, and I've done a lot of kicking about it, and I've let myself feel all those feelings. Now I'm at this place where I'm grateful to have left behind all that I have left. I'm grateful for my life to be so simple. And it does feel this peace that I felt when I was a kid. When I was a kid, we would move to a new place, and I didn't choose it. My parents chose it, or parent, depending on when I was in my life, if they were together or not. Somebody else chose it for me. I showed up. I would always get excited about my room, this empty space that I got to make my own. And I didn't worry. I didn't worry about making friends or if I'd like my new school or my teachers. I was lucky that I loved my nuclear family really, really. We were very tight. And my brother was my best friend, my brother who built this place I'm in right now, who's 3 years younger. And so I felt like I had what I needed and moved with me. And later, when I started to think I'm making all these choices and every place I move should be this upgrade, everything I do should be this up leveling and should signify something about my status. I don't know, a lot of complicated ideas and a lot of accumulation for self in mind. That this way of being feels, I feel like the universe is taking me on this journey. And I feel like I'm just watching. I'm watching when there's a little temper tantrum. I'm watching when there's a joy. I'm watching and I'm appreciating. I'm in that place of witness a lot. And I feel like I'm in service to something bigger. When it was all about me making choices, ironically, it was really hard to make choices and feel confident about them. And now I feel like I've got a lot less choices to make. Most of them are made for me, like I'm a child. Okay. I want to now pivot into just closing up here with talking a little bit about what's going to happen for the rest of December. And I'll talk a little bit about January too. And we'll just leave it with that. I've been thinking a lot about what Nowhere Village will become as we move forward. And for the rest of, so something that I've been thinking about a lot is, look, the meditation is the heart of what we do here. It's so important. everything that I was just talking about is possible because I can sit in the witness place because I sit in meditation every day, and I've been slowly over time building that capacity. The other really, really important thing that we've been doing here is inquiry. And we do inquiry because we need to be able to take the mind to its limits. Inquiry is about boiling down life to what is essential, understanding what is essential and what matters. And so we do this inquiry work. It also takes us to those places where the mind cannot go beyond. And that's where the meditation picks us back up, right? Inquiry, so important. As long as I didn't know how to look inside for the answers, I was unknowingly living according to other people's values, right? Other people's answers. But there's this other piece that I don't feel like we've done a great job. I've done a great job at facilitating here. And that as we come to the end of 2020, and most of us have been living with a lot less touch and contact, I've been wrestling with trying to figure out how to make that this piece more a part of the medicine of Nowhere Village. And that's creating things, creating works of art, creating things that last, creating new skills, being in our bodies. And working with things that aren't as ephemeral or as cosmic as the meditation and inquiry work. I'm still brainstorming lots of ways to do this, but the more that, this year I spent a lot of time doing physical work on homes, and it feels really amazing. It's been a huge part of my therapy to, as much as it's been stressful to move. You guys have seen so many backgrounds this year, right? To get into a new space and to get in there and make it as beautiful as I can with what I have around, to fix things up, to be physically in the space with something that I've manifested with my hands has been very therapeutic, especially this year. And that's the more kind of practical form of this, but also making art and expressing creatively, writing songs, writing plays, making paintings, right? Whatever, all these different ways of putting our spirit and our hearts and our minds out into the world and expressing and exchanging. And so I have decided I'm going to give us a prompt for the rest of I hope that people keep working with this trust prompt this week, but next week I'll properly, fully announce this on Monday. But I'm going to give us all this prompt that is really a reflection on 2020. And at the end of December, I want us all to share something that we've created. And it could be just a story that you tell about what you learned and how you transformed in 2020. You could make a little, I don't know, make a table or make anything at all. And it doesn't have to obviously necessarily directly relate to that prompt, but I would just love at the end for all of us to say, I used my hands, I made a thing. I know it's also a time of year when a lot of people are worried about the holidays, you're extra busy. And so maybe what you make is a gift for someone else that you just take a photo of and share with us or something like that. We'll talk more about that on Monday and in this weekend's email, getting us ready for the rest of December. But I'm just putting that out there. In January, we will be doing a 21-day meditation challenge. I'll sit with you guys every day for 21 days and toward the beginning of January. And I'll get you guys all that info as well. That will be something that'll be paid for non-subscribers. If you're not a founding member, you will pay for that experience, but everyone who's a founder will get that experience for free. And you'll just have lots more times to pop on if you want to meditate with me. So that's what's coming up. down the pike. And my intention is for in 2021 this to continue to really be a community offering, and I'm trying to find more ways to invite you guys to do that. Thank you so much to everyone who's been leading silent meditations. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Who do we have here? Lee, Pam, Holly, John, Sveta. Thank you guys so much for doing that. Michael's not here because he's asleep, as he should be on the West Coast, but he's been leading some of those 10:30 a.m.s for you guys from over there. Thank you all so much. We are I am aiming to make more ways for there to be these member based offerings. And so if you have any thoughts to that, please reach out. So in closing, and I'm sorry, I was also going to read one more thing. So yeah, this is how we're gonna close. I've had one person respond on here. Our dear friend Allison responded to this week's prompt, and she tells this great story. So I recommend that you just go ahead and look at the whole story. But she tells this great story about an experience of knowing when she was on her path. And I'm just going to read the end of this, because I thought it was really beautiful. Okay. She says, "Where is the swiftness? Where is the ability to cut through barriers and BS like a hot knife through butter? Am I now moving from my mind and not my heart? I believe this certain kind of sluggishness is a sign that perhaps my work has morphed and is no longer aligned with my values. For me, it's about sureness, bravery, speed, and ability to improvise. Do I feel brave and bold and joyful? If yes, I am likely aligned with my values. If no, perhaps it's time to meditate, to write, to take a break, and reflect." So thank you, Allison Van Hee, for that. And I encourage all of you to share a little bit about what it feels like for you when you're in or out of alignment, to reflect on that, and to share your wisdom with us. Thank you all. Have a beautiful day. Have a beautiful week. And I will see you all very soon.